My sister stood in her kitchen, wedding binder open on the counter, and said with a brightness that felt like broken glass, "So Ryan's family thinks it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding. You understand, right? It's about the photos." I just finished confirming the final payment with the caterer, $8,000 charged to the credit card I'd opened in my name because our parents couldn't afford her dream wedding, and she'd begged me with tears in her eyes to help make her day perfect. 2 years of planning, 2 years of maxing out credit cards and taking personal loans, 2 years of being her maid of honor, her planner, her bank account. And now, 3 days before the ceremony, I wasn't photogenic enough to attend. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just smiled and said, "I understand completely, Emma. I'll take care of it." She looked relieved. "You're the best. I knew you'd get it." I got it. I got that I'd been used. I got that my values stopped at my wallet. I got that the sister I'd sacrificed everything for saw me as a problem to be managed, not a person to be loved. What I did next with those vendor contracts made her understand something too. Before I tell you how I dismantled her perfect day, tell me, have you ever given someone everything only to be told you're not good enough to witness what you built? Have you ever been erased from a story you wrote? And when they finally tried to take back what they said, was it already too late? People say weddings bring out the worst in people. In my family, they just revealed what was already there. Emma was always the pretty one, the one with the perfect smile, the one who knew how to work a room, the one strangers stopped on the street to compliment. I was the responsible one, the plain one, the one who faded into the background while Emma sparkled in the foreground. Our parents loved us both, but there was always this unspoken understanding that Emma needed more care, more attention, more investment, because she had more to offer the world. I stopped questioning it somewhere around middle school when I realized that asking to be seen only made me look desperate. So I became useful instead. If I couldn't be admired, I could at least be needed. I helped Emma with her homework, covered for her when she snuck out, loaned her money for clothes and concerts, and all the things that made her life feel magical, while mine felt like a series of obligations. She always said she'd pay me back. She never did. But she smiled when she saw me, hugged me in public, called me her rock, and I convinced myself that was payment enough. When Emma got engaged, she called me at 2 a.m, screaming with joy. He proposed. Oh my God, he actually proposed. Ryan was fine, nice enough, boring job in finance, strong opinions about craft beer, the kind of guy who used words like synergy in casual conversation. But Emma loved him, or at least loved the idea of the wedding, and I was happy for her. Happy enough to ignore the small voice that wondered if Ryan ever really saw her or just saw a pretty trophy to display. "I want you to be my maid of honor," she said, still breathless. Obviously, I echoed, feeling that old familiar warmth of being chosen. "We're going to have the most amazing wedding. I've been planning this since I was 7. She had. Pinterest boards going back years. A vision of white roses and string lights and a dress that cost more than my car. A vision that, as it turned out, cost more than anything my parents had saved. The budget conversation happened 2 weeks later. We sat in Mom and Dad's living room while Emma showed us magazine clippings of her dream venue, dream flowers, dream everything. Dad cleared his throat. "Sweetheart, this is beautiful, but we need to be realistic. We have about $10,000 saved for the wedding." Emma's face crumpled. "That's not even enough for the venue." "We'll make it work," Mom said quickly. "We can do something smaller, more intimate." "I don't want small. I want my wedding, the wedding I've dreamed about my entire life." The tears started, real ones. Emma had always been good at crying in a way that made you want to fix everything. I watched my parents' resolve melt. "We'll figure something out," Dad said, defeated. That's when Emma looked at me. "You could help, couldn't you? You're always so good with money." I wasn't good with money. I was just better at going without. "Emma, I don't have that kind of savings." "But you could get a loan or something. You have good credit." She reached for my hand. "Please, you're my sister. This is the most important day of my life. I can't get married in some cheap venue with grocery store flowers." Mom and Dad looked at me with that expression I knew too well. The one that said Emma's happiness was a family project and I was expected to contribute. "I'll see what I can do," I heard myself say. Emma threw her arms around me. "Thank you. You're literally saving my life."
I wasn't saving her life. I was funding her fantasy. But in my family, those had always been the same thing. I took out a personal loan for $15,000, then opened 2 new credit cards. I told myself it was temporary, that Emma and Ryan would help pay it back after the wedding, that this was what sisters did for each other. I became her unpaid wedding planner because hiring one wasn't in the budget I was creating with money I didn't have. Every evening after my job at the insurance office, I called vendors, compared prices, negotiated contracts. Emma would send me photos of dresses and cakes with thoughts, and I'd research, price check, make it happen. My coworker Lisa watched me spiral with increasing concern. She said one day, finding me on my lunch break, scheduling a tasting with a baker an hour away, "You know this is insane, right? She's my sister, and you're a person. When was the last time you did something for yourself?" I couldn't remember. Every weekend was dress shopping, venue visits, floral consultations. Every spare dollar went to deposits and down payments. My own apartment started to feel like a place I just slept between wedding errands. But Emma was happy. She'd send me selfies with cake tastings with hearts and "couldn't do this without you." And I'd feel that hit of validation that kept me going. 6 months into planning, I'd spent $34,000. I kept a spreadsheet hidden on my laptop. Every payment, every charge, every maxed out cart. I didn't tell Emma the real numbers. She thought Mom and Dad were covering more than they were. She thought the loan I had taken was smaller. She thought a lot of things that weren't true, because I'd learned that Emma's happiness required ignorance of what it cost other people. Ryan's family was wealthy. Old money, country club membership, the kind of people who summered as a verb. They'd offered to pay for the rehearsal dinner, and that was it. "Ryan wants us to do this ourselves," Emma explained. "Something about not starting our marriage dependent on his parents." Noble in theory, bankrupting me in practice. I met Ryan's mother, Patricia, twice. Both times she looked at me like I was help she hadn't hired. "You're the sister," she didn't ask. "She speaks highly of you." She didn't speak of me again. Ryan's sister Caroline was going to be a bridesmaid. Tall, polished, effortlessly elegant in the way people who've never worried about money always are. Emma gushed about her. "Caroline has such amazing style. She's helping me pick the bridesmaid dresses." I was the maid of honor, but Caroline was picking the dresses. I swallowed the slight and added it to the collection of small cuts I'd been accumulating. The dresses Caroline picked cost $400 each. I charged mine to a card that was already screaming. 3 months before the wedding, I was sitting with Emma at her apartment going over the seating chart when she said casually, "So Patricia mentioned she's hiring a professional photographer, someone who does magazine shoots. That's great. One less thing to worry about." "Yeah, but he's expensive."
Like, really expensive. Patricia said she'd cover it, but she wants approval on everything. The timeline, the shot list, the wedding party positioning. Something in her tone made me look up. Positioning? Emma wouldn't meet my eyes. She showed me some of his work. Very editorial, very polished. Everyone looks like models. Okay. She's just really particular about aesthetics, about how everything looks. The pause stretched too long. "Emma, what are you saying?" "Nothing. I'm not saying anything. Just that Patricia has strong opinions about photos and Ryan thinks we should listen to her since she's paying for it." I wanted to point out that I'd paid for literally everything else. I didn't. 2 months before the wedding, Emma asked me to come over for bridesmaid dress fittings. I brought mine, freshly altered to fit properly. Caroline was there with the other bridesmaids, Ryan's cousin, his childhood friend, and Emma's college roommate, who I'd never heard her mention until the engagement. They all looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog. Same height, same build, same effortless beauty that comes from good genes and better resources. I stood next to them in the mirror and felt every pound, every imperfection, every way I didn't fit in. "Gorgeous," the seamstress said, but she was looking at them, not me. Emma was looking at her phone. She'd been distant lately. Stressed, she said. Wedding planning was overwhelming. I'd bitten back the urge to remind her that I was the one doing the actual planning. That night, I heard her on the phone with someone, voice low. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was in the kitchen, getting water, but her apartment was small and the walls were thin.
I know, but what am I supposed to do? She's my sister. I can't just uninvite her. I know she doesn't fit the aesthetic. Maybe we can just keep her out of the main photos. Ryan, this is so stressful. I stood there, glass in hand, hearing myself reduced to an aesthetic problem. I left without saying goodbye. Lisa found me crying in my car the next morning before work. What happened? I told her. Everything. The money, the planning, the phone call I'd overheard. You need to walk away from this, she said. She's using you. She's my sister. And she's treating you like an ATM with legs. Lisa grabbed my shoulders. Listen to me. You've spent your savings on a wedding where you're not even wanted. Walk away. I can't. Everything's in my name. The contracts, the deposits. Exactly. Everything's in your name. She looked at me meaningfully. Think about what that means. I didn't want to think about it. Not yet. 1 month before the wedding, Emma asked me to come to her apartment. Important conversation, she'd said. I went, stomach tight with anxiety. Ryan was there. So was Patricia. They sat across from me like an intervention panel. Emma's eyes were red. She'd been crying. This is so hard, she started. Patricia cut her off. Let's just be direct. Emma's wedding is going to be photographed by one of the best photographers on the East Coast. His work appears in magazines. These photos will be displayed in our home and potentially used in publications. Okay, I said slowly. The aesthetic of the wedding party is very important. Everyone needs to be cohesive. Patricia's voice was clinical, like she was discussing color swatches, not a human being. We've been looking at the bridesmaid lineup, and there's a concern about the photos. My hands went numb. Ryan's family has certain standards for their events. This wedding is a reflection of our family. Your family, I repeated. I'm Emma's family. Patricia smiled thinly. Of course. We just think it might be better if you participated in a different way, behind the scenes, perhaps. You've done such wonderful work planning. Emma was crying silently. Ryan looked uncomfortable but said nothing. You're uninviting me from your wedding? Not uninviting, Patricia corrected. Adjusting your role. You'd still be involved, just not in photos, not at the ceremony itself. Maybe you could coordinate vendors that day instead. I looked at my sister. Emma, it's just photos. You understand, right? Ryan's family has to be happy. It's their money. It's my money, I interrupted. What? The venue, the flowers, the catering, the dress you're wearing, the rings you're exchanging? That's all my money. I took out loans. I maxed out credit cards. I've spent $34,000 of my own money on this wedding. The room went silent. Patricia recovered first. Well, that was your choice. It was my choice when I was invited, when I was the maid of honor, when I was her sister. You still are her sister, just not one that's good enough to be photographed at the wedding I funded. I stood up. I need to go. Emma grabbed my arm. Wait! Can we talk about this? What's there to talk about? You've made your choice. Her grip tightened. Please don't be like this. You're making it harder than it needs to be. I pulled away. Emma, you're uninviting me from your wedding because I'm not pretty enough for your mother-in-law. And you're doing it 3 days before the ceremony, after I've spent 2 years and my entire savings making your dream come true? It's not about pretty. Then what is it about? Silence. That's what I thought. I walked out. Emma called 23 times that night. I didn't answer. She texted, "Please call me. We can figure this out. Don't be mad." I wasn't mad. I was done. The next morning, I opened my laptop and pulled up my spreadsheet. Every vendor, every contract, every payment, all in my name, all requiring my approval to proceed, all within the cancellation window if I acted fast. Lisa had said to think about what it meant that everything was in my name. I'd thought about it. It meant I had control.
For the first time in this entire nightmare, I had power. I started making calls. The venue first. Hi, I need to cancel the wedding scheduled for this Saturday. I'm sorry to hear that. Let me pull up your contract. Okay, Miss Chen, I see you booked our premium package. Unfortunately, we have a 72-hour cancellation policy. If you cancel now, you'll forfeit your deposit but avoid the remaining balance. How much is the remaining balance? $6,000. Cancel it. One down. The caterer, next. Similar policy, lost the deposit, saved the balance. The florist. The photographer. Emma's future mother-in-law hadn't hired yet because she'd been waiting for the deposit I was supposed to make. The DJ. The cake. The transportation. One by one, I dismantled the wedding I'd built. Some vendors were sympathetic. Others were annoyed. I didn't care. With each call, I felt lighter. By noon, I'd canceled everything. The wedding Emma had dreamed about since she was 7 years old no longer existed. My phone started ringing around 1 p.m. Emma, then my mother, then Ryan, then Patricia. I let them all go to voicemail. Emma's voicemail messages progressed from confused to panicked to enraged. What did you do? The venue called. They said you canceled. This isn't funny. Call me back now. You can't do this. You're ruining my life. How could you be so selfish? Selfish. I'd heard that word my entire life, whenever I wanted something for myself. But funding someone else's dream wedding that I wasn't allowed to attend, that was supposed to be generosity? My mother's voicemail was worse. How could you do this to your sister on her wedding week? We raised you better than this. You call her back right now and fix this. Fix this. Like I'd broken it? Like I hadn't been the one holding it together all along? Ryan's message was brief. This is incredibly immature. Emma is devastated. I hope you're proud of yourself. I was. For the first time in years, I was proud of myself. The only person I called back was Lisa. I did it. Did what? Canceled everything. Holy shit. How do you feel? I waited for the guilt, the regret, the panic. Instead, I felt calm. Free. The next day, my parents showed up at my apartment. Dad looked tired. Mom looked furious. You need to fix this, Mom said before I could even invite them in. No. Emma is your sister. She's getting married in 2 days and has no wedding because of you. She has no wedding because of her. She uninvited me after I spent $34,000 making it happen. Dad's eyes widened. $34,000? I took out loans, maxed out credit cards, emptied my savings because you told me to help her, and I thought that's what family did. We didn't know it was that much, Dad said quietly. Would it have mattered? They didn't answer. She uninvited me, Mom, 3 days before the wedding, said I wasn't pretty enough for the photos. And you want me to fix it? Mom's anger faltered. She didn't mean it like that. Then how did she mean it? Silence. Emma made her choice. She chose Ryan's family's opinion over her sister. She chose aesthetics over the person who gave her everything. I'm just respecting that choice. By destroying her wedding, by stopping my funding of a wedding I'm not welcome at. I looked at Mom directly. You taught me to sacrifice for family. You never taught me that family should sacrifice for me too. So I'm done sacrificing. Dad put his hand on Mom's arm. Let's go. We're not done. Yes, we are. Dad looked at me with something that might have been respect. She's right. We asked too much. They left. Emma showed up that evening. She looked terrible. Eyes swollen, makeup smeared, trembling with rage or grief or both. How could you? Her voice cracked. How could you destroy everything? I didn't destroy anything, Emma. I just stopped building your dream with my money and my life. You punishing me for one mistake? One mistake? You uninvited me from your wedding. You let your future mother-in-law call me an aesthetic problem. You watched them humiliate me and said nothing. I was going to talk to them. When? After the wedding I wasn't allowed to attend?
After I'd gone into debt for a day I wasn't good enough to witness? She stepped closer. I said you could still be involved. Behind the scenes, coordinating vendors, being useful without being visible. I laughed bitterly. That's been my role my entire life, Emma. Useful but invisible. The sister who makes things happen but doesn't deserve to be in the photos. That's not fair. None of this is fair. You used me. You took my money, my time, my love, and when I'd given you everything you needed, you discarded me like I was garbage. The tears came then for both of us. I didn't mean. I was under so much pressure from Patricia. And you chose her over me? She's going to be my family. I already was your family. I was your family when I paid for your dress, when I stayed up until 3 a.m. addressing invitations.
When I spent 2 years making your dream come true, I was shouting now, and you threw me away for a photograph. I'm sorry. The words came out small. I'm so sorry. I'll fix it. I'll talk to Patricia. It's too late. No, it's not. We'll reschedule. I'll tell Patricia you're in the wedding party or I'm calling it off. We'll do it right this time. Emma, I stopped her. I don't want to be in your wedding. What? I don't want to stand next to you and watch you marry someone whose family thinks I'm not good enough. I don't want to smile for photos knowing you were ashamed of me. I don't want any part of a day that showed me exactly what you think I'm worth. That's not what I think. It's what you showed me. And I believe you. She broke down completely then, sank to the floor of my hallway and sobbed like her world was ending. Maybe it was. But mine had ended first, when she'd chosen aesthetics over love. I knelt down next to her. Emma, I loved you. I would have done anything for you. But you didn't love me back. Not really. You loved what I could do for you. There's a difference. I do love you. Then why wasn't I enough just as I am? She didn't have an answer. I helped her up, called her an Uber, and watched her leave. I never saw her in a wedding dress. The wedding was postponed. Emma and Ryan scrambled to put together something small at a restaurant with 2 weeks' notice. I wasn't invited to that one either. Not that she asked. My parents went. They sent me one photo afterward. Emma and Ryan cutting a grocery store cake. She looked beautiful, but tired. Like someone who'd learned that not every dream comes true, and sometimes you're the reason why. I didn't feel bad looking at that photo. I felt relieved. 6 months later, Emma sent me a check for $5,000. A note said, "First payment. I'll pay you back everything. I promise." I deposited the check. She sent another 6 months after that, then another. It took her 4 years to pay me back in full. We didn't skeek during those 4 years. Not at holidays, not at family gatherings I stopped attending, not even when Mom got sick and I came home to help. We existed in the same spaces like strangers who used to know each other. When the final payment cleared, she called. "I paid you back." "I know. Thank you." A long pause. "Do you think we can ever fix this?" I thought about it. Really thought about what fixing it would mean. "I don't know, Emma. You hurt me in a way that can't be undone. I was awful to you, I know that now. Knowing it doesn't change what happened. I want to try, to be better, to be the sister you deserved." "Maybe someday," I said. "But not today." "Okay." Her voice was small. "I understand." We hung up. I don't know if we'll ever fix it. Some breaks are too clean to mend. But I know this. I spent years making myself smaller so Emma could shine brighter. I spent a fortune on a dream that didn't include me. And when I finally chose myself, everyone called me selfish. Let them.
I'd rather be selfish than used. I'd rather be lonely than invisible. I'd rather cancel 1,000 weddings than spend one more day funding my own erasure. If you've ever been the giver in a family of takers, I see you. If you've ever been told you're not enough after giving everything, I understand. Tell me, what was the moment you realized your sacrifice wasn't noble, it was just convenient for everyone else? And when you finally stopped giving, did they call you selfish, or did they just call you at all? The wedding I paid for never happened, but the life I'm building for myself is more beautiful than any ceremony could have been. Emma taught me what I wasn't worth to her. I taught myself what I'm worth to me. And honestly, that's the only opinion that matters anymore.